On the foundation of the Athenaeum, the Luminous Order and the mutual mission of their joint partnership. Ceremonial remarks from a primary steward of the LOOP3 Athenaeum. Flame eternal, I greet you in the name of the Horned God, and in the name of the Horned God I offer to you my entire heart, that you may know, you may see, and that then will you understand. In this time, the sign of the Ram upon the cusp of the years 54 and 55, do we proclaim the inception of this which we have called the Athenaeum. The word itself is no more than a long antiquated term for the kind of library none reading have likely been so fortunate to see, much less enjoy, and the thing in and of itself is little more than a glorified file index for novel and original left-hand path materials. Despite this, we are of the conviction that it is the ambition of this institution, and the endeavor that it in turn embodies, from which we derive the justification for manifestation in this fashion. There is no physical location for the Athenaeum, and its geological point of origin is unimportant. There exist designated astral portions which were made as part of the inception herein, but these are not necessary or useful for access by the general public, for these are ceremonial demarcations of our endeavor, and a base for future endeavors, nothing more. What is important and what is useful is what we have done, and will continue to do. The mission of the Athenaeum is to provide educational materials upon diverse subjects, curated only by the utility of application within the most productive and sustainable methodological applications of left-hand path philosophy. The curators of the Athenaeum identify these goals not in the fulfillment of some desire or expression of personal power, but in the unending endeavor towards increasing actualization in all possible and appropriate expressions, and for all who can appreciate this gift. This, the work, is both the task at hand and the reward in itself for all aspirants of the left hand. We are of the conviction that this goal is maximally attained by diverse means, but also that collaborative exploration of the work among equals yields superior results. It is for these reasons that we so aggressively source original materials and maintain the steady output of usable material that we have thus far. Quality is always preferred to quantity, but these subjectives are handled by the editors. The Athenaeum's art is generated by hand using the most simple digital software possible. The same is true of our compounded print and audiovisual materials. These things are also done purposefully, in order to again demonstrate our philosophy as regards results. The most sustainable attainment of the goals of the left hand is not achieved or maintained by way of shortcuts. The Athenaeum maintains high standards of personal accountability of its contributors, including the expectation of full honesty and sincere effort from all participants therein. Our results are not measured by material gains or bombast of presentation, but by the bonds we make through this education ministry and the fulfillment of its mission. The Luminous Order of Plexus 3, or LOOP3, is a mutual endeavor of the Athenaeum, and serves as both a community nexus and, if desired, a medium for kinship and solidarity for participants with the activities which these partnered organizations represent. Plexus 3 is in reference to an ineffable Experian real phenomenon apparently related Mother Saturn Bina. This phenomenon will be detailed elsewhere. Its manifestation at the inception of the mission, which occurred in the year 42, is not vitally important to the mission itself. Love is the law, they say. To place this under will is a duality, the first trick of both of the celestial trees, and their masquerade as complements. It is the position of the Luminous Order that this dichotomy, which pays futile devotion to an underdeveloped and underarticulated concept of dharmic and personal progress, accounts for most of. The dissatisfying, discouraging and unproductive idle chatter which hampers the progress of all fellow craft, especially those who are not affiliated with any existing magical society or fraternal order. This position is upheld by the Athenaeum in the creation and curation of educational materials, research reports and treatises of occult philosophy. Participation is only gated by competency. The Luminous Order and the Athenaeum are not the same, despite their partnership, and neither organization bestows or recognizes the metaphysical legitimacy of any degree system. Appropriate honorifics, including those which are self-elected, will always be included in Athenaeum materials. No less is true for indicators of intersectional identity. It is for these reasons that disclosure of all relevant affiliations is requested of all participants, but this cannot be guaranteed. None of the primary stewards of the Athenaeum are affiliated with any fraternal order or magical society. And the Luminous Order, despite the trappings of its nomenclature, is not an order proper. nor does it bestow formal honors or recognize its contributors except in terms of their ongoing material work towards the mutually held goals of said participants and the body of the order, as well as the joint body of the Athenaeum, where this applied. We believe that a maximal expression of appreciation or esteem, including for those most actively involved in these activities, is expressed most appropriately in keeping with our espoused left-hand path values at the exclusion of libation or placement within a hierarchy. Superiority of technique and results will be readily differentiated and appropriately recognized by the merits of the fellow craft's endeavors towards the attainment of their will, and the intersection thereof with the activities of the order and/or the Athenaeum. In order to accomplish these goals, stewards of the Athenaeum continuously seek and gather experiential reports as regards spiritual, supernatural, paranormal and transpersonal experiences. These not necessarily be the contributor's personal report or experience, but maximal and truthful sourcing is expected and effort will be taken prior to publication to identify provenience when necessary. The same is true of novel or unfamiliar information, such as novel systems of magic and their correspondences. So long as the report is coherent and sufficient in detail, it will be considered for publication. Responses and rebuttals to Athenaeum discourses are encouraged, and are submitted and pressed in the same fashion as original reports provided they are appropriate in tone and have a clear and evident rationale and purpose expressed therein. The body of our literature is expanded by this process, and each time this is done fortifies our endeavor towards scientific rigor. Most Athenaeum contributors have submitted at least one report of their own experience, and are expected to, if nothing else, seek and submit reports from third parties. Testimony and reflections are always encouraged within these reports, when possible. These reports are obtained and compiled by the Athenaeum for the purpose of, beyond publication as discussed, soft statistical analysis by which the efficacy of novel techniques may be approximately measured and the techniques thereof further refined. This is a step of the process of facilitating discourse of an academic nature by means of our publication and distribution channels, the details of which will follow. The executive parameters of our commitment have been given their form upon first reasonable vindication of the methodology by which the existing corpus of material has been compiled. That is, a modest positive reception and the expressed approval of the researchers involved. Our methodology includes a pressing of the report into portable format, a separate pressing including commentary, and no less than a text-to-speech rendering of the most appropriate compendium. Responses, updates, rebuttals and other addendums are made by the same process as publication. A separate version of the text, formatted sequentially as appropriate, is compounded. Amendments and addendums to audio and/or audiovisuals are handled in a similar manner, as will the pressing of physical print and audiovisual materials. Materials and the additions thereof are disseminated in the most uniform fashion as is possible on various internet platforms and is always made to be easy to identify, provided it is an unaltered Athenaeum media release and the recipient is familiar with our work. This easy source verification is indicated by a series of watermarks throughout the documents, as well as in and throughout the writing or audio or video itself. It is done in this way to create difficulties for any who may endeavor to segment out the material's original source, and to protect the context integrity of these publications. The Athenaeum, insofar as it is capable with its primary focus being the subtle arts, which are in turn a subdiscipline of the liberal arts, strives for maximal scientific rigor. This means that the body of left-hand path research compiled need not, will not and should not be entirely comprised of exceptional reports, bombastic results or even noteworthy quality as regards grammar and coherency. We seek an honest reflection of the psychic and eteric landscape of left-hand theory and practice, and thereby to make increasingly known both the flourishes and foibles of the body of applicable beliefs, practices and ideals. With the attainment of this knowledge and subsequent observation, antisocial impulses of unremarkable aspirants and the flimsy conceits of gifted liars can easily be excised from the community at large, having been truthfully identified in Athenaeum research. At this time, this is primarily done through email contact with the Athenaeum at luminousorder3@gmail.com, though reports are also accepted through the varied web portal accounts to which they are received by primary stewards of the Athenaeum. Because the Luminous Order does not execute its activities by means of this Gmail account, and because the coordinator of this account is also a dedicated steward of the Athenaeum, the reports are most reliably received to this address. The Order also curates a Facebook group regarding left-hand path and geisha topics, and most Athenaeum reports are posted to this group upon final pressing of a report or edition thereof. The materials of the Athenaeum are not disseminated for profit, nor are residual profits to be pursued in connection to these publications outside of the will of the publishing Athenaeum peer. This includes endorsements of products and sponsorships, solicitation of consultant work, the advertising of a platform outside of the Athenaeum, or offering of a holistic paradigm system which facilitates any sort of system which bestows degrees, offers paid coursework, or creates a cult-like hierarchy of command execution. This type of material in all media expressions is transparent in its purpose and will be sorted. This is not to say a product, be it physical goods or software, cannot be mentioned or spoken favorably of, nor that the contributor may not speak of their activities which exist outside of the scope of their involvement with the Athenaeum. It is simply that occulted advertisements and base self-promotion will be rejected upon submission. This is a temple, not a business. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. This material was compounded and distributed in conjunction with the Athenaeum, an institution working in conjunction with the Luminous order. It may be freely distributed provided its contents are not augmented or truncated, especially in such situations where either this message or the star of the Athenaeum would be disturbed. Contact may be made at luminousorder3@gmail.com. We continuously strive for academic rigor in discussing the nature of the subtle forces and what they may do.